Bethlehem began in 1980 with cardboard boxes, and since then it's evolved to the buildings that it is now.
Hello, dear friends. Welcome to English Lutheran Church's Bethlehem Event. For over 40 years now, we have been providing this opportunity for members of our congregation and the community at large to get just a taste of what it must have been like to be there on that night over 2,000 years ago at the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ.
The village of Bethlehem at the birth of Jesus was at most 1,000 people, perhaps less than 500. So it's in a rocky, barren area. So a lot of the houses were built in front of or part of caves. So for the baby Jesus to be in a manger in a cave would have been pretty routine for the area. Hi, my name is Pete Bemis. I'm the lead coordinator for Bethlehem Event 2022. I volunteered for this event because I felt it's important. It's a great event for the community, and we try to transport people to Bethlehem and emphasize the true story of Christmas.
My name is Pamela Stripmotter, and I am the goat trader in Bethlehem. So I get to have fun all day in the village with the goats and share them with the people and the visitors that come. Bethlehem is as authentic as we can, back to the day when Jesus was born.
The story starts with the Roman Empire requiring a census. Herod the Great was the local ruler from the Roman army, and he ruled for about 33 years. So he was very well established and very strong. The city of Bethlehem, also known as the City of Bread, was a small village for him. But he wanted to employ the census. The reason the census was important is that's how you counted the people. Therefore, Rome knew how many people were in the village, and they knew what was demanded from taxes. So Herod was responsible for the census and for collecting the taxes. That's why Rome and Herod demanded the census be taken. So Joseph is of the lineage of David, therefore he has to return to the city of David, which is Bethlehem. And why Mary and Joseph had to travel approximately 80 miles across barren land. It would have taken them 4 or 5 nights to get there walking, possibly with donkey. A donkey would have been very common at the time, but it was a rough trip. Mary was certainly no more than 16 years old. And of course, she's very pregnant, and she has to travel these 4 or 5 days, walking most of it. It'd be very difficult for her in the weather that is probably 55 degrees during the day and maybe 45 degrees at night. And you don't have a lot of ability to carry clothing and blankets. So they had a very difficult trip. Also, when they get to Bethlehem, the inn is full. Well, a lot of people had to come back to the city of David to report. And so you have a small city with a lot of people coming in, there just wasn't enough room. Hence, they landed in a cave, and there was a manger in the cave. So that brings us to our city of Bethlehem.
We're all used to celebrating Christmas in our own ways. Something to remember is that Jesus Christ was born as a babe in this little village of Bethlehem in the Middle East in Israel that long ago. One name for Jesus is Emmanuel, God with us. The important thing about that is knowing that Jesus Christ was born into our reality. Jesus Christ was born as a human baby in a particular time and place, and that is Bethlehem. What you're going to experience is just an opportunity to get a feel of what that must have been like on that night. You're going to be entering this village. You're going to be overwhelmed with the smells of perfume and spices of animals. You'll be encountering people that would have been active in the village of Bethlehem on that night. You'll be able to see scribes and elders and beggars and Roman soldiers and rabbis and craftspeople all going about their business on that night. A night that was just an ordinary night, but we know that it marked the birth of Jesus and the coming of the Son of God.
I'm Lisa Weston. I'm one of the co-chairs of the cast, so trying to recruit members to be part of the Bethlehem Day, wear the costumes, welcome guests, and things like that. This is my second Bethlehem event. As a new member, I thought I'd jump right in. And so my first event was shortly after we had joined English Lutheran, and it's just a fantastic way for people to connect to other people. Really, quite literally, as we are building the city of Bethlehem, it also takes a village of people to make this event work. And so it's really a great way for new members, for old members, members who haven't been around for a while, people who are searching for a church family, to get connected, because it's such an active event and it takes so many hands that just being part of the cast or part of the build is you get to meet other people who are in this community.
My name is Chris Dreves, and I am the head of construction for the city of Bethlehem. I've been involved with the Bethlehem event this is my 8th time. So I've been involved since 1988.
Bethlehem came about from an idea that Donna Fink had. Donna Fink was our Sunday school superintendent, and Donna came up with an idea of not having a traditional Sunday school program that year, but getting everybody involved in recreating the day of Christ's birth and the day after Christ's birth.
The construction of Bethlehem roughly takes 8 weeks. Over the years for Bethlehem, we've been trying to be as accurate as possible. Wood was a rare commodity back in this time of day, so a lot of the buildings were wood, but now we're going back to stone buildings.
In order to make the village as realistic as possible, we looked at colors, textures, fabrics, architecture, elements that we copied from pictures and other resources. Try to adhere to realism as much as possible.
Some of the great things that we do for Bethlehem, just to look for lots of neat old things at auctions, things that we can find that would be something of the day when Jesus was born. We have some of these beautiful perfume bottles that are from Egypt and from the Middle East. They're all hand blown, and a lot of them have a gold overlay. One of the things that we ask of members of our congregation is to dry fruits, to dry vegetables, to dry some of the herbs and some of the flowers that they have from their gardens. This happens to be our potpourri that we make for our perfumery shop, and the perfumery makers will grind the potpourri and they'll make the perfume when they're working in their shop.
We're putting you back 2,000 years in history, and we're putting you in a very small village of Bethlehem. So by walking in the footprints of the people, the village of Bethlehem, it really does transport you back to that time of the birth of Christ.
Walking through Bethlehem, it's noisy. You know, there's people, there's crowds, there's loud noises, there's all kinds of noise there. But once you get into the cave is, it just quiets down. I don't know how it does it, but it just quiets down. It gives you goosebumps, and you just walk around and you see the baby laying there, and it's just quiet. I don't know how it gets quiet, because there's no soundproofing in the cave, but it's just amazing how that happens. So we have the basic structure of the cave completed. So you're walking through here. This is going to be like the opening to the cave. There's going to be a wall here. Then there'll be some sheep in here. Then you just walk around the corner. This will all be covered with chicken wire and the fabric. And we'll walk around the corner here, and baby Jesus will be sitting here.
When we built the new fellowship hall and turned our Luther room into classrooms and music room, the fellowship hall actually was created to fit Bethlehem. So we worked really hard with the architects to make sure that we could fit everything in Bethlehem and how we could fit the city of Bethlehem into our fellowship hall. So it's evolved. We've added a house, we've added a front gate. We've added lots of different shops. We've added, many different things and areas to help people to tell the story. Through the years, it's just evolved into taking away those cardboard boxes and building sets and building buildings out of wood that can be taken apart and screwed back together.
The building materials are generally the same because we've used the same materials over and over again. There's a few things that have been added, like the house is fairly new. We've had the house maybe four times now, but generally all of the materials are the same. The hardest part of building the city is getting the house together. So we need to be careful about getting it structurally sound because it's a 2-story house, the pieces are heavy. So the house comes in pieces, like we have 2 big pieces right here and then the back walls are configured to fit together. Then there's another 2 big pieces on the side there, and there's just a lot of parts that need to fit together. House needs a roof, so that's what they're doing right now.
The day of getting ready is what I imagine might be like backstage of a theater production, right? So everyone's getting in costume. We do a lot of pre-fitting ahead of time. So everyone knows what they're wearing, they know what's gonna fit, and that really starts 6 weeks before the event. So this room during the Bethlehem event years kind of becomes transformed into the costume room, fitting room, maybe, if you will. So everyone who's in the cast spends some time in here getting fitted for costumes. So there's everything from the animal trader, furrier type things, goat traders. Of course, we have costumes for youth because, as we said, this is family event, right? So the day of the event, there's everyone getting on their assigned things, putting on the head wraps, which it takes talent to do. And so getting the experts to do that, making sure everyone looks authentic and in the right role. The funnest part is men who are not soldiers or not youth also need to be sure to have beards on. And so if they haven't been growing beards for 2 months, then they also need to have beards applied to them, which is comical. What do you think? Not for me today. What is the appropriate beard? Oh, there's a darker one. Here's a gray one. Some brown ones. But also really a fun transformation to watch as men get their beard glued onto their face. So it can take hour and a half for someone to get ready, depending on what the lines look like to get ready, but it's high energy.
When visitors come to the city of Bethlehem, they have to recall that they're not in La Crosse 2022. They're in the city of Bethlehem at the birth of Christ. So the people in Bethlehem will be talking about what's happening in Bethlehem. And you're free to ask them what is happening in Bethlehem. But the talk of the town will be the star last night and that pregnant lady who came in.
We encourage people who are walking through to absolutely interact with the cast members. The whole purpose is for the cast members to interact with you. We're trying to treat all the guests walking through the city as though they are citizens who have been called here for the census. And so we're welcoming you to the city of Bethlehem, and we will try to sell you our goods, right? Whether that's cheese or bread or weavings or dyed fabric. We're trying to interact with you much like the citizens of Bethlehem would have. I can't speak for the goats or the chicken and how they will interact, but they will enjoy seeing people too. And so we really want you to kind of, although you may not be in costume as you go through, put yourself in those shoes, right? That's the whole point of this. Put yourself in those shoes of what it might have been like to walk in Bethlehem.
This year we've cut down a few shops because of COVID.
The air system in the building has been modified so the quality of air is much better.
We're no longer going to have the fisherman shop this year. We're not going to have the cafe. The rope maker will be set aside for another time. But we really wanted to concentrate and spread out the shops a little bit more so that they're a little bit more COVID friendly.
So there have been some minor adjustments, some major adjustments.
Give an opportunity for people to experience the city a little bit easier.
My name is Brad Korberg, And I've been involved with Bethlehem here at English probably since the early 2000s. My main role is to get the information out, work with the media, and try to get the information out to get people to come and attend.
I think if you're attending and you're walking through the city of Bethlehem, you start to see the conditions in which Jesus was born in a different way, right? We often think, because we're in Wisconsin, we think about snow on the ground, we think about a barn, and we think about the manger, and we have a image of what it was like when Jesus was born. And the reality is that's not Bethlehem, right? Authentic Bethlehem is different. And so this creates a different visual of what Mary and Joseph might have been experiencing as they traveled to this new city, a very pregnant Mary, right? And so you learn a little bit different context, and I think it shifts a vision of what it was really like to be there when the Son of God entered the world.
English Lutheran Church presents the village of Bethlehem as an outreach to our community. Yes, it's very educational for our own congregation, but it's a way to reach the greater community. People who perhaps have not been to church recently or are unaware of the story of the birth of Jesus get a chance to immerse themselves in this village and to explore the village and understand how difficult the times were and understand some of the conditions that Jesus was born under.
I've heard of people in the community say, oh, English, that's the church that has that Bethlehem event. And so I think, one of our goals for English Lutheran is to be a good member of the community. And I think people, by opening our doors, they'll feel more comfortable that they may want to come here for a number of other events that we may have throughout the year. So it's a good way to minister to the community, but also let them know that they are welcome here, and no matter what the case may be, and they're welcome to come and worship with us or to partake in any of the events that we might have throughout the entire year.
Thank you for being with us this day. I hope that it was meaningful for you, that it was a gift for you in this season of giving. A big thanks also to all the volunteers that made this happen. A joy for me was watching all the ways people were involved in this project. Thank you, my friends, for making this a reality. And lastly, I would just like to say God's peace and blessings to all of you in this season marked by the birth of Christ. May the Christ child rule in your hearts and in your minds. May peace reign on earth, and God's peace and blessings to you and your whole family during this holiday season.
I feel it getting close, I feel the joy in the air. Everybody's going home to the people they care for the most. And I'm on my way, 'cause you're my happy holiday. Na, 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 na. You're my happy holiday.